Hey everybody, I'm Melanie Pratt from Praise 100.9.
And I'm Holly Hayes from Mix 107.9. Hi.
Hey girl, let's talk. You ready, Holly?
Yeah, I guess I'm ready. Yeah, I'm ready. We're going to talk about food today.
Yeah, I'm so excited about it. Like, food's one of my favorite things.
Yeah, well, I mean, we kind of need it. We need it to survive. Um, we're doing a show right now called "Hey Girl, Let's Talk," and we're focusing on cooking. And Melanie, you and I have talked off camera about this before because trying to keep everybody happy in a household, it can be a little bit challenging, especially if you are, I don't want to say the word diet because I don't like that word, but if you're
Yeah.
watching what you eat, but everyone else in your house is not, and you're preparing something and no one else wants to eat that, and vice versa. It can become a little bit challenging, especially for parents out there. I mean, I have 3 kids. They're older now, so it's a little bit easier, but I remember vividly having to cook different meals and try to please everybody, and it was a challenge. It's still a challenge. So you
Yeah,
experienced.
so I know it's fall time, so the seasons are changing. We're coming up on the holidays. Let's talk about what are you cooking right now, Holly? What's burning in your kitchen?
Oh man, it's different. I don't really do a seasonal thing. Like sometimes I'll make a big old crock pot of chili and someone will say to me, "It's not chili weather." Like it's
Right.
that's for some other time of the year when it's cold out. I'm like, "No, I just if I'm craving it, I'm craving it, right?" So it's different every week. I will say the good staples that I fall back on all the time, especially now that the kids, I'm kind of empty nesting at this particular moment.
Yeah.
I don't want to jinx myself because there, there's some like loopholes that happen. Like the um, curveballs, I should say. But salmon, especially in my air fryer, we're going to talk about that because
Oh, wow.
I love, love, love the air fryer. Not so much for a big household, because the idea of it is like you don't want to use a big oven if you don't have to. And the air fryer is small and it uses less energy, but cooks it
Yeah.
faster and it tastes really good. But again, that's if you have one person or 2 people in your house, not a house full of 5. Because then you have to use like you don't have enough room in the air fryer unless you have a really big
Yeah.
one.
Well, of course,
Salmon and broccoli is a good go-to for me. Um, and on tacos are really easy for bigger families. I know you like tacos.
I love tacos, and it's the easiest thing. Like, all you have to do is do your meat pretty much. And I'm a salmon lover, so I'm really, really excited to hear about salmon in the air fryer because I cook a lot of salmon. I actually use my air fryer a lot, but I've never really done it in an air fryer. So I'm excited to hear about that. I do have some seasonal go-tos, like, and it's not by design, but I guess I just don't feel like a big old pot roast in the middle of the summertime.
Yeah, yeah, I
And
hear you.
I don't eat a lot of red meat, but yeah, there are some seasonal things, but right now time is of the essence for me. So a lot of tacos, a lot of big pot, one pot meals. And then I also love I do a lot of fish because fish is quick. And you mentioned something that I really hadn't thought about, but they say that gas prices, electricity prices are going up. So, running that stove, that oven so often really might be, something else we need to factor in cooking this fall or this winter.
Yeah, you can get I have a crock pot and an air fryer. Those are my 2 go-tos. Especially like I said, now that there's just me and the spouse.
Yeah,
Um, Heating up an oven, like you preheat the oven to 350 and it takes, 10 minutes or whatever. And then you use it for X amount of time, and then it seems
right.
kind of like pointless for one little piece of salmon or 2 pieces of salmon. So the
Yeah.
air fryer, I think people you can get them online for pretty cheap, or the big stores like the Walmarts and the Targets have them. But I started off with a real small one, the one that is like I don't know the quarts, the sizes, but it
Right.
was a real small
Me
one,
neither.
and it was a round one, and it was enough to fit 2 salmon loaves or fillets in there. I like the
Yeah.
little ones that are kind of rectangle.
Okay. Okay.
And the downside is the small ones, it's like you have to make the salmon, then you're done with it, and then you make the broccoli or the Brussels sprouts. I know people cringe when they hear Brussels sprouts, but if you
I
you put
love
shaved
them.
If you put shaved Brussels sprouts in the air fryer with a little bit of seasoning, they come out
Yeah,
like crunchy, and I love them when they're crunchy.
I
Um,
love
but
them.
now I have like a double decker air fryer. I gave the small one to my college kid, and they use it at their in their apartment, and I got a bigger one, so it's a more of a rectangle and it's double
So like
layered.
a microwave size?
Yeah, it's like a little tabletop microwave
Oh,
size. I just had to upgrade because I realized that I liked the air fryer so much that I wanted a bigger one so I could cook 4 pieces of salmon instead of 2, you know?
this list, yes.
Yeah, so put it on your Christmas list, and the crock pot I have been using since before I had kids. I'm
Yeah,
telling you, I can make turkey soup in there, I can make chili, like I said, taco meat, and what I like about tacos, Melanie, is that you make it, but then someone else makes their own. Yeah,
absolutely.
so it's like, I'm like, "I made the taco meat, you're in charge of how you want it. I'm not it's this is not a restaurant. You don't tell me you want lettuce and cheese, you go make it yourself." So, you kinda put it in the crock pot and you're done for the day.
I love that. I love that. And accommodating everybody in the house is another thing that I know we wanted to talk about. I
Yeah.
know you've got, sometimes accommodating well, let me say this. First of all, back in the day, I come from a household where it was like, if you don't eat what I cook, then you don't eat. But I think these days there's a little bit more leniency and understanding. Of course, we have kids that have dietary restrictions or preferences. And the same thing with us. We have different parameters around our eating. How do you handle all the different things going on in the house when it comes to food?
Oh boy. I was embarrassingly catering to my kids where because I eat a certain way, so I found myself making a meal for me and then a meal for them. And then it got to a point where I'm like, I'm not doing this. So, like, say, let's go back to the tacos. Perfect example. I went through
Right.
a phase where I don't want to say phase because it makes it sound so trendy, but I was vegan and vegetarian for a while. So at that time, I would make something like tacos, and it was super easy because I made it for everybody, and then I could take out what I didn't want. So
Yeah.
then I would make like a taco salad or a tortilla or something, and I didn't have to put the meat on it. Same with spaghetti sauce. Again, in the crock pot, spaghetti sauce is amazing, but I would make a side of marinara just for me without the meat. I did get to a point later where, I had one kid that was super picky that would only eat chicken nuggets and french fries. And then another child that would eat the salmon if I made salmon. And then another child, "Well, I don't like fish." And I said, this is not a restaurant. So, like you said, I'm going to make something. And if you don't like it, you can go cut up some apples and celery and whatever. This is not a restaurant. But this was, of course, when they got older. When they're little, when they're 4 or 5 and you're still cutting up their food and stuff,
Yeah.
a little bit different. But I've always been really strict. I know that my kids will agree with that. I've been a health coach for a very long time, so I'm not the norm with, how meals are prepared. With that being said, I do want to stress the importance of creating really good healthy habits at the home because when your child is small, you're the one doing the grocery shopping. You're the one
Right.
doing the meal preparing. So it breaks my heart to see kids that are sick or struggling or overweight and whatever. I'm like, oh gosh, and I'm not trying to cast blame, but you have to instill these good eating habits at home so they learn from them.
Yeah.
And so my one child that was like all about chicken nuggets, and I'm like, that's fine, but you're gonna have to try salmon and you're gonna have to try broccoli. And if you don't like it, that's fine. But I'm not making chicken nuggets every night. That's not sustainable for a good healthy. But what picky eaters are a hard thing. Picky
Well, you
eaters
know
are
what?
a hard thing.
I have only one child, and I think to some degree it was easier because she kind of pretty much fell into my patterns, um, which, can be a good thing and a bad thing. It was an expensive thing. Like, I remember at age 2, her asking for the pink sticks, which were crab legs.
Okay. Okay. Pink
But
sticks. Gotcha.
and large,
Mhm.
her tastes are my tastes, and so it hasn't really impacted in my house. Now, what has had an impact in my house is that, as you mentioned, my dietary focus has changed from time to time for different reasons. I don't know what your reasons were, but like right now, I'm focusing on lowering cholesterol and And so, I've taken to, eating more oatmeal, or different things that, and there are seasons where I've been vegan or vegetarian as well, pescatarian even, and, for many different reasons. And so I've been kind of fortunate that in my house, generally, they'll eat what I eat, but there's a lot of pressure because we love food so much. You want it to be an enjoyable experience. You want your family to be satisfied after a breakfast or a dinner. So it's kind of tough. Tell us. I know you're on keto, I think, right now. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how that works for you?
Yeah, keto is kind of like a buzzword, and I don't like it when people will use a term that they've seen in a magazine and then all of a sudden like I'm gluten free this week or I'm keto.
Yeah,
For me, I was a little bit overweight in like the 2007 2008 timeframe, right when I was becoming a health coach. So I did this doctor based program, and I highly recommend that if you are going to do keto, ask your doctor about it or a nutritionist because it can be really if you're just looking in it and searching it online, you could do some damage to your kidneys because it's a very low sugar, low carb, kind of like Atkins way back when. Remember when Atkins was the thing, and then it was like, oh, Atkins is bad. So
yeah,
keto is a very low carb, low sugar way to eat. And we have to remember that fruits and vegetables are still carbs. So carbs get a very bad rap. They get a very bad, it's not the same as starchy, complex carbs. They're carbs. We need carbs. We need fats. We need sugars. We need oils. These are things that we need, but everything in moderation. So I'm very mindful. I will read every label, which a lot of people don't, and I've done a couple of health blogs about this because you can be a very unhealthy keto person. You can be a very unhealthy vegan, a very
yeah,
unhealthy vegetarian just because you buy something that doesn't have sugar in it. Well, okay, what did they put in it to make it taste good? Because
right.
usually there's something in there that you might not want. So in answer to your question, I do follow a very ketogenic diet. But with me, I am very educated on it. So it's not a buzzword for me. It's a lifestyle. And I look at the labels. So just strict keto is probably under 25 carbs a day, and that's hard to do. So I'm probably just under 50 of carbs per day. But I watch
Wow.
everything that I put in my mouth, except like on holidays like Thanksgiving. We'll talk about that because that's coming up. But and moderation for everything. I'm not one of those that's gonna say, "Don't have your apple pie." Have your apple pie.
Have your apple pie
Have your apple
in
pie.
in moderation.
Yes. Every
Let's go into the holidays. How do you well, let's start with how do you manage your dietary focus during the holidays?
Well, I don't wanna say, I break all the rules for the holidays. I do like, if I have company in town, sorry, I've got a piece of hair in the I
Me
used
too,
I know.
girl.
No, you do not. I used to be, if I was on a plan, my keto plan in the beginning, I used to be pretty strict even on Thanksgiving and Christmas, but I have lightened up a little bit and I say everything in moderation. And I think that's really key. Not that this is exactly what you asked, but I'm going to do a little side note.
Yeah,
Moderation for everything, whether that's, alcohol or fatty foods or fried foods or desserts or whatever. If you feel like you are depriving yourself, you're just going to sabotage yourself. So you can't go into it like, like like limiting yourself too much with any meal plan because then it's just going to be if you have one little piece of apple pie, you're going to probably eat the whole pie
go
because you're like,
crazy.
oh, I haven't had pie in so long, you know? Um,
Yeah,
but the problem is our bodies are really smart, but if we give them too much of something that it doesn't know what to do with, it will backfire. So whether that's your gallbladder because it can't process, all of the fatty acids in our body, or if it's your insulin because it can't break down the sugar fast enough,
right,
or your liver because it can't process the alcohol fast enough. So everything in moderation so your body doesn't backfire. Um,
right.
but but for Thanksgiving, so of course I'll do the turkey, which a funny story. I think I told it on one of maybe off camera, but when I first got married, I didn't know that they had turkeys different sizes. So I got like this huge, 19-pound turkey for 2 people, and my husband's like, who's coming to Thanksgiving dinner? Like, what is all this? I mean, so I'll do the turkey, I'll do the green beans, I'll do, corn and mashed potatoes. But if I hear me saying that, it's all starchy foods. So I try to make everything so everyone's happy. But a lot of the side dishes for Thanksgiving, sadly, are pretty bad and full of full of bad carbs. But
Yeah.
have at
I
it for
read a
one day.
story yesterday. I don't know if you saw this, that the royals are actually weighed in before and after Christmas dinner. Did you hear
What?
about this? Yeah, I didn't read the full story, but they actually are, it's a thing. They actually are weighed prior to Christmas dinner and after Christmas dinner. I'm gonna have to look and see what
I
happened.
need to know details about this because what would be the purpose for that? I don't want to be getting on a scale after I've had a bunch of apple.
Sure. Like, oh my gosh, it's like we all go, we all have our things, that we're watching, and that's one thing. But like you said, it's like moderation and and allowing yourself to enjoy, the occasion. I can't imagine the pressure of like stepping away from the table and like, hey, come here, girl, get on the like what? Gotta be kidding
Wow,
me.
that seems kind of abusive.
It absolutely does. I kind of, in years past, before I was a woman of a certain age, I paid no attention to of any caution during the holidays. Did not care. Of course, you get to be a certain age and wiser, and realizing that you need to watch certain things. So I kind of take the approach that I eat everything one time, but
Right.
it might be a little bit of everything. So, and then I try and leave room for the things that I love. So I love bread. I love butter. Like right now, I can't do butter because of the cholesterol. For the holidays, I'll leave room for bread and butter. So that might mean, a few less mashed potatoes, or no mashed potatoes, or no, sweet potato casserole. What whatever the case is, I try and balance everything out. And dessert, I think, because some of those things only come around once a year, I do a little sample plate.
Yep.
So, try and measure things out and balance things out a little bit has been my approach lately.
So tell me about your personal health food journey. Like what has you, I know you said cholesterol, which I can give
Yeah.
you a really good plant-based butter substitute. That's really good. I promise you. I
Tell
know
me,
people
I'm
get
trying a
high.
few right now. And this is the thing, when they told me cholesterol, I've never had an issue with it. I knew immediately at butter. If I cut out butter, they will probably be like, "Girls, nothing's wrong with your cholesterol," because I don't eat a whole lot of meat. I do eat fish quite a bit, and I cook generally with olive oil and those kinds of things. But let me tell you, a waffle, a pancake, a roll, it is basted in butter. So I cut
Oh,
that out completely. So I'll definitely have to hear about your plant-based substitute.
I will
Um
be happy to.
the just the older I get, things change, and some of those things I'm trying to watch before they become an issue. Like I don't want to have an issue with diabetes, so I'm pre-watching my sugar. I do not want to have a blood pressure issue, so watching those things, and really just trying to preempt some of the things that I know come with, a lot. Sometimes we say it's genetics, and that things are hereditary, but oftentimes it's our family eating patterns as well. So just trying to watch some of those things, and it's really interesting. My parents had some issues with some of these things, but years ago took dramatic changes in their diet, so it makes it a lot easier when I'm eating at my parents home, to not have to you know be concerned about certain types of fats or a lot of fried food, because they've eliminated those things from their diets as well. So a lot of it really is what we pass on, to and through our families. It's really fascinating.
It is. It resonates with me when you say that because my father died when I was 11 months old and he had high blood pressure
Wow.
and had an aneurysm, and now my it's not always genetics. Like I look at my siblings, I'm the youngest of 8. So I look at them and I'm like, and they all think I'm crazy because I'm so health conscious and I eat way different than my siblings. And I'm like, you guys, we have, history of this in our family. We need to
Right.
be careful about what we eat. And I have a son that's in medical school right now. Well, yes, he's getting his master's in anatomy. So he has actually texted me in the past few months and said, Mom, I just want to thank you for all that you
Wow.
have instilled, because when you are opening up a cadaver and looking at the fine tuned engine that our body is, he says, I have mad respect for all it does. And so it's a great lesson and for everyone, whether you're in medical school or not, that your body really wants to do good things for you. So you have to fuel it properly,
Yeah.
and everything goes in there and does its job. It's like a little, a little motor and engine doing its thing. So it's not all genetics, but so much of it is diet. So much
Yeah.
of it, type 2 diabetes is 100%. Well, let's just say 98%
Yeah.
is your diet. I know that there are people that have type 2 in their family, but your diet can reverse it. And your diet with type 1 diabetes can also help your insulin dependency. So people that are on insulin can lower the amount of insulin they need just by adjusting their diet. And so
Yeah.
that speaks volumes to me, like, and you're being smart with, you like butter. That's like if you like ice cream and your
Love
blood sugar
butter.
is really high, or you can't stop eating this, or you can't stop eating. Well, I mean, you do what you
Yeah.
need to do.
I think is fascinating, when we first started talking about this subject, everybody, all of my listeners know that I love food, and, if you wanna know where to get the best whatever, I can tell you. But it's interesting to me that the conversation evolved into a health conversation about food, because, when you know better, you do better. And so out of all the things that we love, that you learn, how to temper those things, or where to correctly place those things in your diet, or how to substitute things, or, really in some cases just turn completely away from certain things. And so it's funny, as a food lover, I'm sure a lot of people were, listening to find out, where the best steak is. And I can certainly tell you that, or, what seasoning I use in my tacos. And I absolutely can tell you those things. But it's just funny. The food conversation has evolved over the last few years into a health conversation for me. But I still, really, really love food. You just have to find a way, to love differently.
Yeah.
I can say that. This has been so cool talking to you, and I know I'm really fascinated about your food journey, and I can't wait to talk to you more about. I'm sure you can help me. Why don't we leave our viewers with one last food tip? What would you say, Holly?
Well, I mean, for women who are in the kitchen trying to cook for an entire family, especially during the holidays,
Yeah,
um, it's difficult, but I think you need to let go of the trying to please everybody mindset. That's a great responsibility and onus on someone that is trying to please everybody. The holidays are stressful enough.
yeah,
And if you are the only person that's in the kitchen, get someone to help you. Get the kids, even
yeah.
the little kids. Show them. This is a great opportunity, and not just Christmas cookies, but show them how you make um, stuffing. I call it stuffing. I hear in the South they call it dressing, right?
Dressing.
Dressing. Have them cranberry sauce. Ugh. But if you're opening a can of cranberry sauce, show them how to open it, show them how to make corn, show them how to make it a family thing, and then it might become a tradition. Or then, little junior might come in and say, remember when I helped you make that turkey?
Yeah,
Can I help you make salmon? Show me how you do the salmon. I have my college kids that will say, Mom, I have my air fryer plugged in. Now what do I do? How do I make the salmon? Well,
yeah,
it's really easy. So make it a family thing. I don't do well with frozen foods. I don't really like canned foods. I try to make it fresh, but it's hard because there's some really old school recipes that I use the frozen green beans for my green bean casserole,
Yeah,
like, I'm not gonna change that. I've tried doing it all natural, like, fresh,
different.
and then fresh cheese and fresh this and whatever, and it doesn't work. So, I'm
Yeah,
like, some things are traditions that you can't, change. So that I don't really have a good takeaway, but as far as especially with the holidays, bring people into the kitchen to help you. I think it's
yeah,
stressful enough that I would cringe if my at one time like my in-laws were coming and I had to cook for like 7 or 8 people. I'm like, I can't do this by myself. And then my mother-in-law would come in the kitchen. I'm like, no, I don't want you here. So
yeah,
it was like she tried to help, but it wasn't helpful. So go into it with a plan and say, maybe so and so can help me with this, or I'm not good at desserts, so maybe you can bring a pie to my house, or like bring a side dish, have someone bring a side dish, or learn a side dish. If you're
yeah.
keto and you're keto, you can't expect someone to cook a whole keto Thanksgiving meal. You have to be responsible and make something for yourself so you're not sabotaging yourself. So,
Absolutely. And I would echo that and say do it together.
yeah.
That's kind of where we have grown to. It used to be I would go to my mom's house and she would have taken care of everything. And it's kind of a rite of passage in my family. If you get to cook anything for family dinner, you get the stamp of approval. And if you get asked to bring that or cook again, then that means you know how to do it. And so we now we kind of split everything. And it kind of splits between who's doing the meats and who's doing the sides. Sometimes we split it down the middle. And it really it makes it more enjoyable for everybody. It doesn't put the onus on one person. And then, it's like you said, sometimes you can have too many people in the kitchen.
Yeah.
but
And
but there are
they're
some.
not helping. They think they're helping and they're not, because then they're like, "Where do you keep your bowl? Where do you keep this?" And then
Yeah.
it just takes more time to tell them what to do.
Yeah,
I'll just do it myself.
absolutely. So it's cool when you can do it together, and then, of course, ultimately enjoying the meal together, and I think, that's the thing about food. That's what I love the most about food is it is the great unifier. There's a place, well, kind of I guess you could say there's a place at the table for everybody.
Mhm.
There's something in the kitchen for everyone, and I think that that's the great thing about food. I love. I'm ready for the holidays, and I think we should talk about food some more, Holly. What you think?
I think I could talk your ear off about food. But my stomach might start, making noises because 'cause I'm hungry.
Indeed. Yeah, it's about that time. I think well, I was gonna say it's about that time to eat, but in my book, it's always that time to eat. And I love these talks. Hey girl, let's talk. And the next one is coming up is what's on your mind. And I think several of us are going to get together and talk about our mental health and how we're feeling as we prepare for the holidays and for the balance of the year. So I'm looking forward to that. How about you?
I am. I will have, my kids all coming home soon, so I might be talking a little bit about, anxiety at that point, but who knows what my mental state will be at that next talk. But, I think we'll all be able to help each other out because we're all going through it with the holidays coming up,
Absolutely.
so.
Well, I think the next time we talk about food, let's dig into food. Maybe we can be in person and you and I can talk about some different ways to do tacos. Your way, my way, keto way,
Yes.
family way, crock pot way.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to that.
All right, sounds good. And I want to thank everyone once again for tuning in to Hey Girl, Let's Talk. We are, like Melanie said, we're going to do another one, and of course, just keep on our pages and keep up to date. And we'll catch you next time. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.